Alright, good morning everyone. Welcome for today's tutorial. Today we are going to look at integration by partial fraction. And you know that you use integration by partial fraction when we have the degree of the numerator lesser than the degree of the denominator. Let's look at how to solve question using integration by partial fraction. Now we have example 1. They say we should evaluate the integral of what 5x plus 1 all over what bracket x plus 1 bracket x plus 2 dx. Now if you look at this question, you know that the degree of the numerator is lesser than the degree of what the denominator. Now let's look at how to evaluate it. The integral of 5x plus 1 all over bracket x plus 1 bracket close bracket x plus 2 dx. For us to be able to integrate this guy, we separate those denominator into a part of what partial fraction by saying that let a be the first denominator, which is what x plus 1 that we have here, and then plus say let b be what the denominator of what the second denominator that we have here, which is what x plus 2. Now after separating it in this form, what you are going to do next is to multiply both sides by the NCN. You know that the NCN of this expression here is what bracket x plus 1 bracket open bracket x plus 2. So we are going to multiply the NCN to both sides of this expression that we have already gotten, which is this left hand side and the right hand side. Now let's look at how to do it. Now if you multiply x plus 1 bracket x plus 2 to the left hand side here, we are going to have bracket x plus 1 bracket x plus 2 multiplied by what we have on the left hand side, which is what 5x plus 1 all over bracket x plus 1 bracket close bracket x plus 2 that we have at the denominator of the left hand side. Now after multiplying this one, we come to the right hand side. On the right hand side, we know that they are separate, right, because of this addition sign that we have here. So let's multiply this NCN also by this first term that we have here. So we multiply x plus 1 bracket x plus 2 to what this first one we have, which is a all over bracket x plus 1. We are done with this guy. Then plus we also multiply that NCN to the second part we have here, which is what b all over x plus 2. So if you multiply our NCN by this guy, we're going to have bracket x plus 1 bracket close bracket open x plus 2 multiplied by what b all over x plus 2. Now at this point in time, let's look at what you are going to have. You know that this guy x plus 1, right, times x plus 2, this guy here, this guy can cancel out what we have here, can cancel out, so this guy is out, cancel out. Now come to the right hand side also. Look, I know that this guy x plus 1 bracket x plus 2 multiplied by a all over what x plus 1. You know that x plus 1 here, you know that this x plus 1 can cancel out this x plus 1 here, right? Now we come to also the next one. We know that we have bracket x plus 1 multiplied by what x plus 2, right, multiplied by b all over x plus 2. You know that this x plus 2 here can cancel out this x plus 2. So we are going to be left with what on the left hand side, seeing this guy cancel out this one, we are going to be left with what this guy, which is what x plus 1 x plus 5x plus 1 equals to what. Now you come to the right hand side. You know that x plus 1 and x plus 1 is cancelled out, right? So we're going to left with what a multiplied by what x plus 2, this guy here. Then plus come also to this next one. You know that x plus 2 and x plus 2 is out, right? So we're going to left with what b multiplied by what x plus 1. Now at this point in time, what you are having now is what 5x plus 1 equals to what a bracket x plus 2 plus b bracket x plus 1. Now at this point, what you are going to do is to expand the right hand side. We are going to expand this right hand side so that I can clear out the bracket. So on the left hand side, we see have what 5x plus 1, right, equals to what, if you multiply a times x, going to give us ax, right, plus a times plus 2, we are going to have what 2a, because what number before alphabet, that's why you have what 2a. Then plus b times x going to give us what bx, b times plus 1, we're going to have what b, right? Now at this point, let's look at what you're going to do now is to correct like terms on the right hand side. We are still working on this right hand side. We are going to correct right terms on what? The right hand side. Now on the right hand side, we know they have what? Ax plus 2a, right? Plus bx plus b, right? Now at this point, let's correct right terms from this guy. Terms that contain x, we put it inside what? One side. Now we have what? Ax plus bx, because both of them have what? S attached to what? Them. Then plus the constant time, which is 2a plus b, right? Now after we have correct the right terms, you know that we have on our left hand side as what? Bs plus 1, right? Now what we are going to do next is to factor out at x from this guy. So we are having 5x plus 1 equals to what? If you factor x from these two guys, because x is common on these two terms, we factor out the x, we are going to have a plus b bracket close x plus, this is constant terms, they did not contain x, so we just put them in one bracket, which is what? 2a plus b. Now at this point in time, we are getting this expression as 5x plus 1 equals to bracket a plus b bracket close x plus bracket open 2a plus b, right? Now we are going to compare the coefficient. We are comparing the coefficient of the left hand side corresponding to what? The right hand side. And for us to be able to compare this coefficient, now let's start with the first term here we have on the left hand side is what? 5x, right? But before we compare this coefficient, you need to know what coefficient is. Coefficient is the number that attached to what? A variable. A number that attached to variable is called what? The coefficient, or a starting number of any expression. Now if you look at on our left hand side here, we have 5x, right? 5 is our coefficient because it's the first number before what? The variable, right? Now this is our coefficient, so we are comparing the left hand side correspond to what? Our right hand side. Now if you look at from our right hand side, we have bracket a plus b, right? X. Now x attached to this guy, right? Now we are comparing their coefficient. What attached to x on the left hand side is what? 5. So therefore our a plus b become what? Equals to 5, because 5 is the coefficient of x. That's why equative to the coefficient of our left hand side as what? 5. Now let's compare the coefficient of our constant terms. Constant terms are those terms that does not contain x in this expression, which is 2a plus b. Now if you compare the coefficient with respect to the left hand side, you know that 2a plus b is equal to what? 1, because 1 is also what we have on our left hand side that does not contain x. Now we are getting these two equations. Number 1 we call it equation 1, number 2 we call equation 2. Now since we are getting these two equations, we are going to find the value of a and b, so we can substitute back into what? Our partial fraction that we stated initially. Now for us to get a and b, if you look at a plus b equals to 5 and 2a plus b equals to 1, right? You can see that if you subtract this equation, if you subtract equation 1 from equation 2, you are going to have a, the value of a, because 2a minus this guy is going to give us a, right? And if you say b minus b, you know that b is already add. So let's look at how to subtract it. So 2a minus a is going to give us a. B minus b is 0, right? So b is add. Now if you say 1 minus 5, you're going to give us what? Minus 4. Because 1 is a lower number than what? 5. So that's why I have the value of what? Minus 4. Now we are getting the value of what? A. We are getting the value of a. Now since we are getting the value of a, then we are going to substitute a as minus 4 that we have into equation 1. And we know that equation 1 we have was what? A plus b equals to 5, right? Now if you are substituting the value of a as minus 4 in place of a, we are going to have minus 4 plus b, right, equals to 5. Now for us to make b the subject of the formula, or to find the value of b, this minus 4 is going to cross the equality sign to the right hand side. When minus 4 cross the equality sign to the right hand side, it's going to become what? Plus 4. That's why we are having, you know that initially we have 5 here on our right hand side. So when minus 4 cross this equality sign, become what? 5 plus 4, right? Now you know that 5 plus 4 is going to give us what? 9. So our b value become what? 9. Now therefore we're going to substitute the value of what? B and a into what we stated initially, because we know that the integral of 5s plus 1 all over what? S plus 1 bracket s plus 2 dx, we are what? Integral of what? A all over s plus 1, the first denominator, plus the integral of what? B all over what? x plus 2, the second what denominator. Now since we have gotten the value of a, and we know that the value of a was what is what minus 4, so we put minus 4 in place of our a. So we are going to have now our right hand side going to become integral of minus 4 bracket x plus 1 dx plus, now in place of b we are going to put what our value of our b, which is what 9, integral of what 9 all over what x plus 2 dx. Now let's look at how to integrate this guy. You know that minus 4 is a constant, right? So since it's a constant, we factor out the constant terms out of the integral, and we're going to have what minus 4 outside the integral, multiply the integral by what, you know that if you factor out minus 4, we are going to left with what 1 here, because minus 4 times 1 is still going to give us minus 4. So if you factor out minus 4, we're going to left with what 1 all over what x plus 1 dx plus, you come to this side, you know that we have what integral of 9 all over what x plus 2, right? So 9 is a constant, you factor out the constant terms, and then we have the integral of what 1 all over what x plus 2, because 9 times 1 is still going to give us what 9. That's why we are having 9 multiplied by the integral of 1 all over x plus 2 dx. Now at this point in time, you know that the integral of 1 over x by the method of integration is what ln, right? But now we have here 1 over x plus 1. So the integral of 1 over x plus 1 is going to give us what ln of what 1 plus x plus 1 that we have on the denominator. Now but you know that this guy was multiplied by what minus 4, so that we're going to have minus 4 multiplied by the ln of what x plus 1, then plus, come to the second one, you know that the integral of 1 over x plus 2 is going to give us what ln of what x plus 2, because by the method of integration we know that the integral of 1 over x is going to give us what ln x, right? But here we have x plus 2 as denominator, so we're going to have the integral of 1 over x plus 2 is going to give us what ln of what x plus 2. But you know that 9 was multiplied the integral of 1 over x plus 2, so this gives us 9 ln of what x plus 2, then plus c, because c is our constant of what integration. Therefore, for us to be able to get, therefore the final answer of this expression is what 5x plus 1 all over what bracket x plus 1 bracket close bracket open x plus 2 dx become what equals to minus 4 ln of what x plus 1 plus 9 ln of what x plus 2 plus c as our constant of what integration. And this is the final answer. This is how to solve question using integration by what partial fraction. Subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much. God bless you. Example 2 on this integration by partial fraction. Example 2, they say that we should evaluate the integral of what 2x minus 3, right, all over what x squared minus 3x plus 2 dx. Let's look at the solution. You know that what they are giving us is what integral of what 2x minus 3 all over what x squared minus 3x plus 2 dx. Now for us to be able to evaluate this kind of integral, first check, you know that the power of the numerator is lesser than the power of the denominator, right? So because of that we use integration by what partial fraction, because the power of the numerator here is what 1, because there's an invisible power of 1 on top of this x, but the power of the denominator here is what the highest power here is what power 2. So since the power of the numerator is lesser than the power of the denominator, we use integration by what partial fraction. Now but for us to be able to integrate this guy, you know that the denominator is already in form of what a quadratic what equation, right? So you need to factor out this denominator, which is what x squared minus 3x plus 2. So you need to factor out what x squared minus 3x plus 2. And for us to factor out this guy, now you know that when we are doing factorization, this is what this question, this x squared minus 3x plus 2 is in form of what quadratic what trinomial. You can check that on my YouTube channel and see how to factorize this kind of expression. Now for us to be able to factorize this guy, one thing we are going to look at is what the product and the sum. Now you have what first, second and third term, right? We are going to use look for number when we multiply the first term and the last time. We get the two number when we multiply the first time and the last time, we get, which is what 2 x squared multiplied by 2 is what is 2x squared, right? Then our sum here is what minus 3x. Now let's look at the number that when we multiply it give us minus 2x squared, then when we add them it give us what minus 3x. The number is what? Minus 1 and minus 2. Because if you say minus 1 multiplied by what? Minus 2, you're going to give us what? 2. And if you say minus 1 plus minus 2, you're going to give us what? Minus 3. We certify this a law of factorization of this trinomial. But for proper understanding, you can go through my YouTube channel and look at how to factorize this kind of expression. So we're having x squared minus 3x plus 2, right? Now, we are replacing these two numbers, which is what? Minus x and minus 2x in place of what? Our 3x. So we are having x squared minus x minus 2x plus 2, right? Now let's group them. You group them, you have what? X squared minus x bracket close minus bracket 2x minus 2 bracket close. Now we know that we have something common here, which is x, right? So we factor one of the x here. So we're going to have x bracket x minus 1. Because if you say x times x is going to give us x squared, x times minus 1 is going to give us minus x. So we are done with this first bracket. Come to the right hand side. We have, if you check here, you know we have what? 2x and minus 2. So 2 is common on both sides of this expression. So we factor out 2. If you factor out 2, we are going to have what? 2 minus 2 bracket what? X minus 1. Because minus 2 times x is going to give us what? Minus 2x. Minus 2 times minus 1 is going to give us what? Plus 2. So that's how you got this guy. Now what we're going to do next is to put the one that is common first on both sides at the first bracket. We have, you know, they have x minus 1 at the first bracket, and we have x minus 1 as the last bracket here too. So they are common on this side. So we put it as the first bracket, x minus 1, then multiply by what? Those terms that we factor out, which is what? X in one bracket minus 2. Those two terms that we factor out on both sides, put it on the second bracket. So our x squared minus 3x plus 2 become what? Bracket x minus 1 bracket x minus 2. Now we have factored out this guy. You know that the question they gave us was what? Integral of 2x minus 3 all over x squared minus 3x plus 2 dx. So since we have factored out this guy, so they can be able to put them into partial fraction decomposition, now we are going to replace what we factor out in place of this guy. So our integral now become what? Integral of 2x minus 3 all over bracket x minus 1 bracket close bracket x minus 2 dx. Now since we have gotten this guy, let's work on integration by partial fraction decomposition. So this become what? We are going to assume that the first bracket from this guy, this is what we are working on now. We are going to have the integral of what? The numerator we are assuming as what? A of the first bracket, the denominator we have here, which is minus x x minus 1. This guy, we assume that the numerator is a dx, plus the second denominator that we have here, which is what? X minus 2. We are assuming that is what? B. So we have the integral of what? B all over x minus 2 dx. Now we are going to multiply both sides by the NCN. The NCN is these numbers, the denominator, which is what? X minus 1 multiplied by x minus 2. This is the denominator of this expression. So we're going to multiply it by both sides. Now if you multiply it, you multiply what? Bracket x minus 1 multiplied by what? Bracket x minus 1 on the first left hand side. We're going to have 2x minus 3 all over what? X minus 1 multiplied by x minus 2. At this point in time, you need to just remove the integral sign so that it can be able for us to multiply and then cancel what is common. Now this guy become equals, on the right hand side we see multiplied by the NCN, which is what? X minus 1 multiplied by what? X minus 2 on this first expression, which is what? A all over x minus 1 that we have here, plus we also multiply it by the NCN on this second part of the right hand side, which is what? Bracket x minus 1 bracket x minus 1 bracket x minus 2 multiplied by what? B all over what? X minus 2. Now you know that at this point if I remove the integral sign for easy word factorization and cancel it out of like terms. Now at this point come down, you know that the denominator of this first, the left hand side, is what? X minus 1, right? Multiplied by x minus 2, and we have on the denominator here x minus 1 multiplied by x minus 2. So these two guys can cancel themselves out. This guy cancel this guy here, so this guy is out. Then you come to the right hand side here, we have what? Bracket x minus 1 multiplied by what? X minus 2, right? Multiplied by a all over x minus 1. You know that this guy x minus 1 here at the denominator is going to cancel out x minus 1 here on the denominator. So this x minus 1 is out. Then plus, look at the second one expression here on the right hand side. You know that on the denominator we have what? x minus 2, right? It's going to cancel out what? X minus 2 on the numerator. So x minus 2 is out. So therefore this become what? On our left hand side, we're going to have left with what? 2x minus 3 equals to this equals to here. Now since x minus 1 is out, what we're going to left with here is a multiplied by what? X minus 2. That's why I have this guy. Plus, come to the next expression. You know that x minus 2 is out. So what we're going to left with what? B bracket x minus 1. Now at this point in time, we are going to look at each of these brackets and equate it with what? With 0, right? Now, since we are going to look at A first, we equate this first bracket with what? 0. So we say if x minus 1 equals to 0, right? Which is what is inside this bracket equals to 0. You know that this, if you make x the subject of the formula at this point, this minus 1 cross the equality sign, our x become what? 1. Now, if our x become 1, we are going to substitute this. We are going to substitute the value of that x equals to 1 into the expression that we have, which was what? 2x minus 3 equals to what? A bracket x minus 2 bracket close plus b bracket x minus 1. Then if you substitute that x equals to 1 into this expression, this is going to become what? 2 bracket, in place of our x, we are going to put what? 1 minus 3 equals to what? On the right hand side, I have what? A bracket. Instead of putting x here, we put our 1 in place of x, because at this point x is equals to 1, right? That's why I put this 1 minus 2 bracket close plus the next thing we have here is what? B, right? Bracket 1. You are putting 1 in place of x. Let's say put 1 here minus, there was 1 here already. You put minus 1, you close the bracket. Now if you look at this guy here, you are going to find out that 2 multiplied by 1 is going to give us 2, right? Minus 3 that you have here equals to, now if you look at 1 minus 2, it's going to give us what? Minus 1, because 1 is lesser than 2. That's why I have a negative sign here. So our a become what? A bracket minus 1 plus, now if you look at this guy, 1 minus 1 is 0, right? That's why I have b bracket 0. Now you come down, 2 minus 3 is going to give us minus 1, because 2 is lesser than what? 3. Let's say I have minus 1 here equals to, then we still have our right hand side as what? A bracket minus 1. You know that b multiplied by 0 is already at, right? Because this is what? 0. Now at this point in time, we are having minus 1 equals to what? A bracket minus 1. Now for us to make a the subject of the formula, we are going to divide both sides by minus 1. So you know that on our left hand side here we have minus 1, right? So if this minus 1 go down and divide this guy, we are going to have a become what? Equals to minus 1 divided by minus 1. And you know that minus sign here, we cancel out this minus sign on the denominator, right? So we're going to write with 1 divided by 1 is going to give us 1. So our a now becomes what? 1. Now this a, we're going to substitute into that our partial fraction decomposition letter. But let's look at the second thing that we have, the second cycle that we have, cycle that we have here. The second part we have, you know that when we are going to look at B, let's look at the second cycle. Let's equate this second one, x minus 2, equate it with what? 0. So if you equate this guy with 0, this is going to become, from this side now, from x equals to minus 2, if you equate it with 0, you're going to have what? X equals to what? 2. Because when minus 2 close the equality sign, become what? 2, right? So now, if our s is becoming 2 at this point, and the expression we have initially was what? 2x minus 3 equals to a bracket x minus 2 plus b bracket x minus 1. This is going to become, anywhere we see x, we put what? 2, right? So this becomes 2 bracket, instead of x here, we put our 2 minus this 3 here equals to a bracket. Anywhere we see x, we put 2 minus this 2 here plus b. Anyway, I see s, we put what? 2, right? That's why I put 2 here minus this one that was here. And this becomes 2 times 2, giving us what? 4. Minus this 3 here equals to 2 minus 2 here. We are going to have what? 0, right? That's why I have a bracket 0 plus 2 minus 1 is going to give us what? 1, right? So if you look at this, a is already out, because 0 times a is 0, right? So this a is out. And then we're going to left with what? 4 minus 3 is going to give us 1, right? And b bracket 1 is still there. Now for us to make b the subject of the formula, this one is going to divide this one. So we're going to have b equals to 1 all over 1, and our b becomes 1. Now we are getting the value of a as equals to 1 and the value of b equals to 1. So we're going to substitute into the main expression that we have. You know that what we have initially was the integral of 2x minus 3 all over what x minus 1 bracket x minus 2 dx, right? Now, but we put it into a partial fraction decomposition by assuming that the denominator of the first denominator here is what a, all over what x minus 1, which is the first bracket, dx, plus the denominator of the second denominator we have here as what b, all over bracket x minus 2 dx. Now, since we are getting the value of a, we are going to substitute that value of a as that 1 in place of this a. That's why having integral of 1 all over what x minus 1 dx, plus, and we are already getting the value of b as 1, so we are going to put the value of b here in place of b. So this is going to give us what integral of what 1 all over x minus 2 dx. Now you know that by the method of integration, the integral of 1 all over s is going to give us ln x, right? But here the denominator is not x, the denominator is what x minus 1. So in the same case, the integral of what 1 all over x minus 1 is going to give us what ln of x minus 1, plus the integral of 1 all over x minus 2 is going to give us what ln of what x minus 2 plus c, which is our constant of integration. Therefore, the expression of integral of 2x minus 3 all over what bracket x minus 1 bracket x minus 2 dx, after we factorize the denominator of x squared minus 3x plus 2, which give us this guy, the final answer become what the ln of what x minus 1 plus the ln of what x minus 2 plus c, which is the final answer. This is how to evaluate a function using what partial fraction method. Thank you very much for being part of us in this tutorial. This is Simplify All STEM tutorial with Gbadaege Mbaladu Maths Academy. If you are not subscribed to the channel, I would like you to do so. Share the video, like it, and then thank you very much. See you in our next tutorial. God bless you.